Hello there, this is Wise Attraction. There's this fascination that many Christians have about hearing from God when it comes to choosing the person that you're going to get married to. Recently, I've been reflecting on this and I'm wondering, has this caused some issues for Christians in general in terms of who they eventually choose to get married and also how Christians are getting married? Is this leading to issues within marriages? Is this fascination about hearing from God um, causing divorce and causing breakup? So that's what we're going to be talking about in today's show. And to help us do that, we'll be looking at the story of a young woman who said she had heard from God before making the decision to marry a man. And about a year after the wedding, she comes back and she says, actually, I did not hear from God. This marriage is hell. I want a divorce. So that's the story we're going to be looking at today. I'm your host, Dr. Bibi Babs, and I'm the founder of Wise Attraction, which is a resource hub for building strong relationships. Let's get right into it. So I'm going to share the story of this woman, which we're going to use as a yardstick for discussing this topic. Why do Christians lie about hearing from God when it comes to choosing who they want to get married to? Okay, so the story is of a young woman who she met and fell in love with this guy. He ticked all her boxes, or so she thought at the time when they met. And she spoke to her family, her friends about this guy, spoke to her church leadership, and they said, fine, go ahead and marry him. We support your decision because we believe that you've heard from God. We believe what you say. We believe you, and we're going to support you to marry him. So she goes ahead and they plan the wedding, they get married, and a year later, she comes back and she says, actually, she's suffering in this marriage and she doesn't think she heard from God and she wants a divorce. She doesn't want to be married anymore. And they're saying to her, well, God hates divorce. You made your bed. You told us that you heard from God. So you have to lie on it. You have to carry on in this path that you've set. So I guess the big question here is, why did this lady, and this lady is really just a symbol for many women out there, young single ladies that have done so in the past, or like they're in a relationship and they haven't quite heard from God, but they're saying that they've heard from God just because they want to marry that person that they've chosen. So to get the conversation going, I'm just gonna talk a bit about my perception about this whole issue of hearing from God when it comes to marriage. So personally, I think that um, there's no the one person that everyone needs to, that each person has to get married to. I don't believe that there's a one for each person. And I feel like the whole thing about hearing from God about this specific person that you have to marry, that is what feeds, part of the thing that feeds into it is the fact that there has to be one person. So people believe that if there's only one person I can get married to, the one that is my husband or my wife, then I need to hear from God to know exactly who that one person is and obey and get married to that person. And so as a result of that, when someone comes to, let's say, their pastor or their church leadership or even their Christian family to say, I want to get married, they then ask you, okay, have you heard from God that this is the one? And sometimes you have people line and say, oh yes, I've heard from God and this is the person that God wants me to get married to. And sometimes you even hear people saying that if I don't get married now, I won't get married again. Someone has said that to me. And someone has also said that it's either I marry this person or I don't marry any other person. And a lot of the time in those cases, after the wedding, you see that people come back and they say, oh, actually, I made a mistake. Now, I just want to look at some stories in the Bible of people that got married and how they chose the person that they got married to. The reason why this whole thing about choosing your partner is so important is that it can literally make or destroy your path, your purpose, your destiny. You have a lot of the times these women that have gone ahead, and not just women, even men, it could happen to anybody, That's why it's good to know and equip yourself with the knowledge that you need to be able to make the right choice ahead of time. Because if you don't have this knowledge and you somehow get it wrong, it can be really derailing when it comes to achieving your purpose, when it comes to being productive and fruitful. It's something that could delay you, even if, of course, like it's not the end of the road for you. Of course, marrying someone that's not right for you is not like a death sentence or anything like that. The situation can definitely change. God can do something, and if you take the right steps, things can actually get better. But it's something that can slow a person down in life and can really derail them. It takes the grace of God to actually bring someone who's made the wrong decision about marriage. It takes the grace of God to bring them back on track with their purpose and their identity and destiny and things like that. That's why it's good to get it right from the first time. So enough of that rambling. I'm just going to go straight to talking about like two examples in the Bible of how they chose, how marriage partners or life partners were chosen. And the first example I'm going to look at is that of Abraham and his servants. Abraham, his servant, Isaac, and Rebekah. So as we know, I'm sure you know the stories in the book of Genesis, where Abraham says to his servant, swear to me and say that you'll choose a wife for my son Isaac, but don't choose a wife from these people whom we're living amongst. Go to my homeland, go to where I'm from, and choose somebody from there, choose one person from there to be my son's wife. And Abraham's servant accepts, and he says, okay, I'm going to go to these people we are like your family, your father's house. I'm going to go to your father's house, and from there I'm going to choose one person. Now, thinking about why did Abraham send his servant to go back to his father's house? Personally, I believe that Abraham's father had a relationship with God, because if we read the Bible, we see that Abraham's father left his town and was traveling, and he stopped at a point of the travel, and God visited Abraham there, and he said, leave your family and follow me to a land where I will take you to. So this is just a speculation from me, but my belief or my understanding of what happened at that time was that Abraham's father probably heard from God. That's why he left the place where he was in the first place and started traveling toward Canaan. My belief is that God had spoken to him and told him to go somewhere else, which is the land which he will show him. And then Abraham took up that, that head from God, and then continued that journey that his father stopped at some point. So Abraham sent his servant back to the place where the people that are similar to him live, to go and choose a partner. And when his servant went there, he made a prayer to God. The servant himself, now when he went to the specific area that his master sent him to, he made a prayer and he said, God, I'm here to choose a wife for Isaac. These are just my words paraphrasing. If anyone that comes here and offers me water when I ask, and also offers to feed my flock, that will be the person that I choose. Now, the servant, remember, Abraham sent him to his homeland to go and choose a wife. And then when the servant gets there, the servant also sets his own criteria. And if you look at the servant's criteria closely, you see that someone who would accept to give you water. Now, not everyone will accept to be kind to a stranger. And he said that not just being kind to a stranger, but he's taking it a step further to say, be kind to me and be kind to my flock as well. So there's a level of kindness and generosity and selflessness that it takes for someone to stop what they're doing and feed both you and your flock. That would have taken time, that would have taken a lot of time, energy, and all of that from the shepherdess, whoever that person was that did that. So there's character ingrained in the criteria that Abraham's servant sets for for who he's going to choose as a wife for Isaac. And if you know this story, he goes ahead. Rebecca was the one that came, and she accepts to go and be married to Isaac. Now, if we look at how these people got married, how the servant found the wife for Rebecca, you see that he didn't hear specifically from God saying that this is the wife. He set a criteria. He followed the instruction that had been given by his master, and that's how he found the wife. And if we look at a second example, which is Mary and Joseph, again, the Bible doesn't tell us that God said to Joseph before they got engaged. We don't hear, the Bible doesn't tell us that they said to Joseph, Mary is your wife. What we hear is that when Joseph had concerns and wanted to break off that relationship, God intervenes and says, Mary is pregnant by the Holy Spirit, so do not divorce her. I am involved in this, don't divorce her. So, however, so you see the examples that we have in the Bible, but within Christianity, you find that people keep enforcing this, God must have told you that this is your husband or this is your wife. And personally, I've seen the danger in that. An example of that is this lady's story that I've just shared, who went ahead, she told people, she heard from God. And later on, she turns around and says, actually, I didn't hear from God. And I want a divorce because I can't handle what I'm saying. So what are the dangers of this is that there's the temptation to lie, because people ask, if someone meets a person that they feel so strongly emotionally connected with, that they're attracted to, that they feel that ticks all the boxes and all the criteria that they've set, that they want their husband or their wife to have, it's tempting to lie and say, yes, I've heard from God and all that, especially if your faith in God is weak. If you're not a Christian that has developed him or herself, if you've not developed yourself properly as a Christian, it's really tempting to lie. So how to avoid this temptation of lying? Because again, I believe that it all comes down to the emotions. When your emotions have gone, your love has gone, you then begin to make up stories about, this is what God said, this is where God is leading me, and so I have to marry this person. So how to avoid the temptation to lie is firstly build your relationship with God. It's important that you know God for yourself. A lot of the time, someone that says, they've heard from God, and they go ahead and they get into that relationship when they haven't actually heard from God, it's an indication that there's a problem with their faith. There's a problem with their relationship with God. And also, as you build your relationship with God, you then begin to learn to hear from God. You then begin to learn to follow the leading of God. And you then begin to differentiate between when your emotions are speaking to you and directing you, and when God is the one that's speaking to you and directing you as to what to do, who to carry on with in a relationship, and who not to go into a relationship with. Now, before I carry on in talking about how to avoid the temptation of lying as a Christian, that God has told you to marry somebody when in fact it's your emotion that's speaking to you. One of the reasons why it's so important is because the danger is that a lot of people get married in these situations. People get married and they find out that the person that they thought they were getting married to is a completely different person. Because when you marry somebody, you get to know them a lot more. And when they find out more about the person, they're like, oh my goodness, this person's character, the way this person behaves, the way this person treats me, I cannot handle it. I cannot continue to be in this space, in this relationship. I want to leave. A lot of times you find people going for prayer meeting after prayer meeting, expending themselves, going for vigils, all manner of things, just because they have married the wrong person. And when they were getting married, they managed to convince themselves that it was God that was leading them. You see, so in that situation, it's very difficult to focus on your purpose. It's very difficult to focus on the things that your gifts, your talents, using your gifts and your talents to serve God, and also to be productive and to be fruitful and to excel. All of your energies, you focus all of your energy in protecting yourself emotionally, in dealing with the emotional hurt and the abuse that you might or might not be receiving in that relationship. So that's why it's important. So now, continuing on ways to avoid lying and lying as a Christian just to follow your emotions. Another thing I said, build your relationship with God, learn to hear from God, and understand God's perfect will for marriage. Personally, if someone comes to me and says that they want to get married, the first thing I'll ask them will not have anything to do with hearing from God. It is because it has to do with the person that they want to get married to. And it will be questions around, is this person saved? One of the things you need to know is this person truly born again? Because a clear instruction from the Bible, if you look at from Genesis all the way to Revelation, is that as a Christian, you have to marry a Christian. Marry someone that's within the faith, that practices your faith truly and indeed, so that they don't derail you from the faith, so that they don't teach you other things. If you look at the Old Testament, most of the reasons why God was angry with the children of Israel and they went into captivity, why? Because they married other people and they went to serve other gods. Look at King Solomon, the wisest man on earth. What did he do? He married people that did not share his faith, and as a result of that, he went ahead to serve their gods. Now, this is the risk when you marry somebody that is not saved. And that's why the Bible says that, because God loves you jealously and he wants you to stay within the faith, and he knows that the person you get married to can play a significant role in your life in terms of whether you're staying connected to him or you're disconnecting from him. And that's why he's saying, marry someone that truly believes me, that practices the faith that I've called you to practice, so that both of you can practice this faith together. So it's very important to understand God's perfect will for marriage. What did God design it to be? So that's the main yardstick. So for me, if someone comes and says, oh, I want to get married, the main yardstick and the main thing that I'll be looking at is the person they are referring to. Are they Christian? Are they truly born again? Are they serving God? Then that's the first criteria. The second criteria then comes to, what are their fruits? Within Christianity and within the faith, when someone becomes born again, when we say fruits, we're referring to character. So repentance is a change of heart and a change of character. Anybody that is born again and that is saved, you will see it reflect in their character, in the way that they behave, in the way that they treat you. The fruit of the Spirit, love, joy, peace. They will be loving towards you. They will have joy. They will be peaceful. They will be people that can change, can be corrected. They will be faithful. Now, there are certain characters that being a true born-again Christian should produce in a person's life. And if someone comes and meets me and says, oh, I want to get married to somebody, then one of the things we need to be looking at is, what is the character of the person that they are bringing? Is their character in line with someone that is truly saved? Now, you see, because sometimes people say they're saved, they're born again, but their character doesn't reflect. Those type of people avoid. Those type of people avoid. And I know that it's difficult to tell someone that's in love, someone that's emotionally attached. It's difficult to say to them, oh, don't. It's easy to say to them, but it's difficult. Someone that's in love, difficult for them to receive that sort of feedback to say, don't. You have to kill the emotion inside of you, because this person you're going towards does not have the character of a Christian, even if they say they are Christians. So if you're listening to this and you're single, possibly you've met somebody that you want to get married to, you need to really assess. After they tell you that they're saved, you need to first of all make up your mind to be honest with yourself, to be honest with God, and to be honest with those that you're accountable to, and find out, does this person's character truly reflect someone that is saved? Now, if those two things align, the rest of it will be preference. That's what I'll say. Then, do you like them? Do you get along well with them? Is there a click between two of you? Is there harmony? Can you both work together? Because you see, when you get married to somebody, what you're saying is that what two of you are saying inevitably is that we're going to walk hand in hand together. We're going to cooperate. We're going to be in harmony for the rest of our lives to do the things that God has called us here on earth to do, and to be companion to each other, to enjoy each other's relationship. Now, if you do these things, I believe that it would help you start from a good place instead of starting from you start from a good place when you eventually get married, and then you can build from there. Because sometimes when people get married after, let's say they said, oh, they heard from God when they didn't hear, and things like that, or they went by their emotions and they had false peace. Now, there's this whole thing about false peace. Sometimes your emotions can make you feel like, oh, you're in the right place, and you have false peace about where you should go, the sort of relationship you should be in. So that's something that you need to also assess. In our show last week, if you didn't join us last week, please go ahead and watch it. The 5 things that you must know before you get married. We had Mr. and Mrs. Nengi and John Fash, very beautiful couple that I respect a lot and admire, and they shared lots of words of wisdom. And one of the things that Mrs. Nengi Fash said, is that you need to have peace, and you need to make sure that that peace that you're saying you have about getting married is really peace. Now, this whole concept of peace, let me just explain it to you, because a lot of people are confused about what peace truly means, and that's why they make mistakes. Peace is a very good indicator of whether or not you're in the right place. And what that peace means is that what you're seeing and experiencing is in harmony. So what you're seeing and experiencing in the physical, into your interaction, does not cause distress within you. So inside of you, you are comfortable and you are at peace. You are in harmony with what you're experiencing with that person, and what your insides, your emotions, and your spirit is interpreting it as. I don't know if I've made it simple enough for you, but it's just that harmony between what you feel inside and what you're experiencing on the outside. So let's say I meet someone. When I met my husband, I felt a lot of peace about him, in the sense that I observed his character. A lot of people had lots of positive reports about him, about how kind he was, how he still is, and how generous he is. Now, the character that I saw in him, inside of me, there was no doubt, no question, no strong resistance of him. Now, if you're someone that's single wanting to get married, and you meet someone that your emotion is telling you, oh, go, you're happy, you're excited about this person, but deep inside of you, there are questions. Something is questioning you. Are you sure this person is truly saved? Are you sure this character married? Are you sure you need to listen to those questions and those things nudging you on the inside, and allow that to guide you? Because you see, if you're born again and you're a Christian, those questions are actually from the Spirit of God inside of you, that's leading you to be able to question and make the right decision. But if you ignore or you downplay that voice, you downplay those questions, then you end up making the wrong choices. Yeah. And sometimes those questions can even come from people around you. So if you're trying to get married, whenever people ask you questions, what I'll say is take in the questions and provide answers for the question. Don't see it as people are against you, or people are against your relationship. What those that are asking you questions are trying to do is that they are trying to help you to make the right decision and to have a peaceful relationship going forward. Because you see, the thing is that it's catastrophic for two people to get married and feel like they're enemies of each other within that marriage. That is the recipe for That is a recipe for a difficult marriage relationship. So I hope this show helped you. If you know people that are single in your space, please go ahead and share this video with them. If you've not subscribed to the Wise Attraction YouTube channel, this is a good time to hit the subscribe button. Also hit the notification button so that you are alerted whenever we have a show going. Finally, I feel like I need to talk to those that might have gotten married thinking that they heard from God, and then after they got married, they then see I don't know, possibly they see things that they don't like in the relationship, and they feel like, oh, actually I didn't hear from God, therefore I want a divorce. Listen, once you get married, you have chosen that this is God's will for your life. The Bible also says that God hates divorce. Now, I'm not advising you to stay in a situation where your life is being threatened. No. But if your life is not at stake, you need to then create the future that you want by your character and your attitude, and you need to let that difficult situation. You see, the thing is that we keep running away whenever we face difficulties in life. The first thing we want to do is run away. Even myself, I'm guilty of that. The first thing I want to do when there's a difficult situation is, how do I escape? How do I get out of here? But difficulties can actually produce perfection in us. Now, you can make up your mind that through this relationship, you're going to develop the fruits of the Spirit. Fruit of the Spirit. I'm going to use the example of, again, the couple that was with us last week. It was such a lovely show. If you haven't watched it, go ahead, and it's on my YouTube channel. It's also on my Facebook page. Go ahead and watch it. Now, one of the things they said is that after they got married, it took them a while to have, about 4 years, to have their first child. They were praying and crying, and out of that season, their ministry was birthed. A lot of things was birthed. They grew, they developed. God blessed them through their waiting. Now, if you're listening to this and you're in a situation where you've made a marriage decision, you've decided to marry someone that you regret, what I'm saying to you is that if your life is not being threatened, hold on and allow this difficult season to build you. In the book of James, I think it's chapter 1, it says, in chapter 1, in the book of James chapter 1, the Bible tells us that testing works out patience in us, and patience makes us perfect. You see, when we go through difficult seasons, those are the seasons that God uses to build us. And if you're in a difficult marriage, it's an opportunity for God to build in you the person that he wants to be, to refine you through that fire and through that process. So don't rush out of the relationship just because you feel like, oh, you did not hear from God. No, that's another bad decision. That would be another wrong decision on top of the previous wrong decision that you made. Of course, like I said, so long as your life is not being threatened, you can actually stay there and allow God to help you in that difficulty to build something beautiful out of it. So that's it for today's show. I hope you've enjoyed it, and please feel free to share with anybody. If you enjoyed the show, give it a thumbs up, give this video a thumbs up, and hit the subscribe button. That's it for today. Till next week, same time on this channel. Actually, I'll just let you know, we're going to be starting a series called 5 Marriages in the Bible. We're going to look at, study in detail 5 different marriages in the Bible to learn from them how to do marriage today. The Bible is life's manual, and a lot of the stories in there are to help us to be able to do things the way we see the mistakes that people made in the Bible so that we can avoid them. We see the right decisions that people made so that we can copy them. And that's what we're trying to do in the next 5 shows. We're going to be looking at 5 different marriages in the Bible and what we can learn from them and what we can learn to avoid and learn to do through their marriages. So please make it a date. It will be on Thursdays at 7 p.m. on the Wise Attraction YouTube channel and the Facebook page. So please like us, follow us. We're also on Instagram at Wise Attraction. See you next week, Thursday. Thanks again for joining. Bye.